press first came out, and some that were handwritten, etc., etc. And we're having a good talk with this guy. And there was another guy there, came up, and he was talking about what the Bible's saying, the prophetic thing of the book of Revelation, and how, destruction's coming upon us, etc., etc. And I was talking to this guy, and I said, look, haven't you heard in the Bible it says, Christ in you, your hope of glory? And that when the Spirit comes, the Spirit will mortify the deeds of the flesh. Well, the deeds are the deads, or the dead works. Those contractual arrangements that you have with other members in separation from God. So anything that your body is the constitution of arrangements that you've got in separation from God. And when the Spirit comes, the Spirit will quicken or transfigure or transmute the energies of those false bits of information that you've stored down in your computer. The deeds or the contractual arrangements that you've had in separation from God. And so it becomes very important to know that our anatomy is made up of bits of living information which are connected to God's source, and bits of dead information which are connected to what we would call the black hole matrix, or that program of the world that runs through our system here. And so it's actually within us, everything is, the battle is going on within us. And it's when we are speaking the living word, when we are letting the life flow through us, that we begin to bring through a greater converting agency, a greater flow of life to actually very quickly put to death or to dissolve those parts which are dead. And we're able to now, through technology, we're able now to reconnect into our living memory matrix, from which we have been disconnected through ignorance or through coercion or manipulation. Because even though everything in the separation has no cause and therefore can have no effect, it is a reality in the mind of the human being. It is a reality. When I say reality, I don't mean it's real, because it's not connected into God's mind, but it's what we experience down here in separation from God in our mind. We're sharing this information. And so it becomes very important to realise that there is a process by which we can reconnect into the living memory matrix of our original form, and we can disassociate ourselves from those parts within our anatomy that are causing us grief, are causing us pain and separation and fear, guilt, everything else. There's many, many names that you could use to describe, those feelings that we have, or those feelings within our body that would make us tremor. It's not a very good thing to feel those energies running through the body. God doesn't know anything about what we've created in separation from God, but it's very real to us. And that's why it's very hard sometimes for people to understand that there is something apart from what we experience now. There is a bright new alternative. There is a whole mind. There is a reconnective process by which we can alleviate ourselves from the pain and suffering. But whilst we're in the pain and suffering, we've given power to those things, and we haven't thrown those upon our lives, upon the altar of our temple. And we're protecting them because that's what we have been programmed with, and that's what our identity is, even though those things are really causing us to suffer great pain, and we're distraught. And the whole world really is just protecting what has been programmed into the biological computer through dead men. Dead men are those mankind that have programmed our mind through education, through religious systems, through eons of separation from God in our mind. We've tried to survive. We've tried to survive against the knowledge of God. We've tried to become very clever in the way that we would do things, to live, even exist in separation from God, denying the power of the reality of God and trying to do it ourselves. So we've been programmed by the corruptors. The corruptors of the mind have been working very diligently for eons of time, setting up the biological structure of our body, distorting the original biological structure that we had. We had original vehicle that would be created through the mind of God as we stepped down into density, so that we may experience beautiful things in density, not separated from God in our mind, but shut down from the higher dimensional frequency bands, but still experiencing wholeness without corruption. Wholeness in as much as we were in density number 1, which is where we are at the moment. We would experience dimensions 1, 2 and 3 in wholeness in those 1, 2, 3 dimensions. We would be separated from 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We wouldn't know those in our mind, but we still had regenerational cycles of experiential laying down the foundations of the templates of the holographic form of our anatomy. So we were creating a body of light, so that at this density we wouldn't really manifest the fullness of the potential, but we would be building up a construct of a vehicle which could be used for consciousness to experience many, many different fields of joy in the cosmic realms. And so as we would migrate our consciousness up from dimensions 1, 2 and 3 up to 4, 5 and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we would be laying down foundational information within our temple in a true format that could extend or emanate a glorious hologram until we got right back to God's source, where the need for a hologram would dissolve, but we would still have the divine intelligence that was gleaned through experiential self-actualization of all of the different densities and realms. In other words, we could move within any kind of structure. We could move within all living systems. We could move very intentionally through the power of the mind, an anatomy which was not necessarily a physicality, but could become a physicality at will. We could decelerate the particleization of our structure and appear as the physical being in some space-time continuum to experience something, or to assist even some other structure that was falling down. Just like this galaxy, this Milky Way galaxy is in a state of fall. It's being consumed by a mind that is taking over the original mind. The original mind is there, but it's shrouded by this other energy which is harnessing and harvesting the energy to run its own system. And when a system, like, say for example, a galaxy, when a system is taken over by mind programming, taken over by energy harnessing from some other fallen structure, when the energy levels get to a point that the living structure cannot sustain itself because it's been overtaken by other thought systems, the system will shut down and go into a quarantine. In other words, the Milky Way galaxy, for example, will get to a point where life cannot be sustained any longer here, and it'll close itself off, so as the contamination which is within the Milky Way galaxy cannot permeate or enter into other dimensional forms to run harnessing agendas in other living systems. So it'll be quarantined off, and that's where we are with the Milky Way galaxy. Even the planet Earth is one of the planets that is under that control. Now, it's only mind, and it's only separation, and it's only imagination. The original members that fell into devastation and created technology to harvest other living systems, that's only their imagination too, because in God's mind they're still perfect, but they can't find it in their own mind. They can't find that, and they're living off other living systems and corrupting other living systems.